All right, let's dive in. Today, we are breaking down one of the most powerful and, frankly, feared tools in a prosecutor's arsenal, the Arizona Racketeering statute. So, how does this law actually work? Let's get into it.
You've definitely heard the term before, right? In movies, on TV shows, some prosecutor stands up and dramatically announces they're bringing RICO charges. Well, that's the big federal law, but Arizona has its own version, and let me tell you, it has just as much bite. So what is it that gives this law so much power?
The best way to think about it is like a legal supercharge. See, instead of just going after one person for one crime, racketeering laws let the authorities target the entire criminal network. The goal isn't just to get a single conviction, it's to completely dismantle the whole operation, from the top all the way down. Okay, so how on earth do you build a case that big? Well, it all starts with something called predicate offenses. Think of these as the individual bricks that you use to build the entire wall of a racketeering case.
So a predicate offense, it's really just a specific individual crime. Now, one offense all by itself isn't enough to bring a racketeering case. No way. The real power here comes when prosecutors can prove a pattern of these crimes, showing they're all connected to some larger scheme. And these building blocks, they can be all sorts of things. It's not just the stuff you see in gangster movies. The law covers a huge range of white-collar crimes, things like financial fraud, money laundering, identity theft. You know, the crimes that are often the financial engine of the whole operation.
But yeah, of course, it also covers all that classic organized crime stuff. Robbery, bribery, extortion, even murder. All of these can serve as those predicate offenses, those building blocks. This is exactly where the law gets its fearsome reputation for taking down violent syndicates.
And it doesn't stop there. The law's reach goes deep into things like drug trafficking and public corruption. This allows prosecutors to target everything from massive drug networks to public officials who are abusing their power. It is an incredibly versatile and powerful tool. Okay, so we've got our building blocks, right? All these individual crimes. But they're just a pile of bricks without something to hold them together. In the racketeering world, that something, that framework, is called the enterprise. And here's where it gets really interesting. The legal definition of an enterprise is, well, it's insanely broad, and that's on purpose. Sure, it can be a legitimate corporation, but it can also be basically any group of people working together for a common criminal goal. And that broad definition is what makes it so powerful.
Look at it this way. A legit registered corporation, that's an enterprise. But guess what? So is an informal street crew with a common purpose. A loose network of associates connected by nothing more than a handshake deal can be prosecuted just the same as a multi-million-dollar company. The law doesn't care about the paperwork. It cares that people are working together for a criminal purpose.
All right, we've got the building blocks, the crimes. We've got the framework, the enterprise. So now let's see how prosecutors actually put it all together to bring the main charges.
In Arizona, it really boils down to two main ways they can charge you. First, there's illegal control of an enterprise. This is basically using crime or dirty money to take over or keep control of a business. And second, there's illegally conducting an enterprise, which means you're either running the business through a pattern of crime or you're knowingly playing a part in that criminal scheme.
And this right here is so important to understand. You do not have to be the kingpin, the boss, to get hit with a racketeering charge. If you're an employee, an associate, and you knowingly participate in the enterprise's criminal activities, even if your role feels small, you can be held responsible for what the entire group does.
Okay, so what happens if you actually get convicted? Let's just say the consequences are steep. We're talking about a price tag that's huge, both in terms of potential prison time and crushing financial penalties.
Just take a look at the criminal penalties here. Both of the main charges are Class 3 felonies, and that could mean almost 9 years in prison. But look at the penalty for using a minor in racketeering. That jumps up to a Class 2 felony, and the potential prison time goes up to 12.5 years.
And that charge involving a minor, it's not just a longer sentence. It is mandatory. You serve every single day of that time. There's no probation, no parole, no possibility of early release. The law draws a very, very hard line on this one.
But the prison sentence, that's only half the nightmare. Outside of the criminal court, there's this massive financial hammer waiting to drop, and it all revolves around one number.
It's called treble damages. Basically, it means the victims can sue you in civil court for 3 times what they actually lost. So if your scheme cost someone $100,000, a judge could order you to pay them back $300,000. It is a penalty designed to be absolutely financially crippling.
Whew, okay, that was a ton of information. So let's boil it all down. What are the key things you absolutely need to remember from all this?
Okay, 4 main points. First, remember, racketeering is about a pattern of crime, not just one single act. Second, the case is built from those individual crimes we called predicate offenses. Third, that word enterprise is super broad. It can be a formal company or just an informal group of people. And fourth, the penalties are incredibly severe, with long prison sentences and those triple damages.
And all of this leaves us with one last really big question. We've seen how powerful this law is, how broad its definitions are. So where do you draw the line? At what exact point does a series of related crimes cross over and become an organized, prosecutable criminal enterprise? Answering that question is at the very heart of every single racketeering case. Thanks for joining me.